but they were not owner-occupied.
Okay, they were rentals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there was a lot of properties that were owned, like one person owned like
Yes.
10 properties or whatever.
Yes, or more.
And they were all over leveraged, like a lot of people were over leveraged, and then the 10 properties instead of just one or two properties were foreclosed on in that area.
But after we looked at that information, anecdotally we started to see prices. What was happening before was houses would come on the market, let's say at $30,000, and then they'd sit there for a while and sell for less than that. And now we're starting to see it, they might come at the same price or even slightly lower than that, but they're moving pretty quickly and they're selling for the list price or more.
So people are buying now. Things are kind of changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We found where that point. I hate to say we hit bottom, but we found where that point is.
It feels
and we're
like
moving
it.
Well, I
up
think
from
so.
there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we hit the bounce, as they call it in real estate.
Balance
hit
is
the
better.
hit the bounce. Hit
Yeah.
the bottom
Okay.
and bounced up. I think a big reason for that too was in the last year and a half or so we saw such a huge amount of foreclosures, and there were a lot of well, I should say there were a few landlords that had very large holdings in Hawthorne that went under. So one guy would
Flood the
lose
market.
15 properties, and then they all would come up bank owned within 6 or 9 months or whatever, and the banks were unloading them at bargain basement prices, and a lot of them were pretty distressed. So I think if we did the same analysis now, we would find higher prices because things have really begun to even out.
So
over the last
opportunity
year or so.
is the key word here, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to break it down neighborhood by neighborhood, but of North Minneapolis, there are how many?
13.
13 different neighborhoods.
13 different neighborhoods in North Minneapolis.
And I don't know. I mean, you can't. I'm not asking you to like rank them or tell me which ones are nicer than others. Obviously, they all have their charm and they're whatever. But is it a case where one or two of the neighborhoods dominate the general stereotype of what all 13 of them are like?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's a case of a few commercial thoroughfares or one commercial thoroughfare dominating the perception. And that would be West Broadway.
Okay.
People that come through North Minneapolis that
All
don't
right.
live there, have never lived there, they're probably going to be driving on West Broadway, particularly now that the Lowry Bridge is closed between North and Northeast, so they can't come down Lowry, which looks a lot nicer. West Broadway, it's still got a little ways to go in terms of how it looks. And so I think that really is the big thing. Overall, if you want to talk about crime and livability issues on the north side, it's really block by block. I certainly couldn't say this one neighborhood is, where all the crime is, and this other neighborhood doesn't have any. I mean, it's like that in South Minneapolis too, along Lake Street and Central and Corcoran, you find, great spots and, spots that's on the edge of Powderhorn and, other spots that are kind of tucked away. I mean, really, it's difficult to generalize by neighborhood and say any neighborhood is good or bad. They all have their really different qualities. We had a lot of dysfunction on the north side for a lot of years, and the foreclosure crisis, as bad as it was for so many people, it did impact North Minneapolis so fundamentally that now we're on the way to becoming something different. And my goal and my hope is that the something different will be something better.
What are they trying to do to get people to come into North Minneapolis?
Well, there have been a number of things. Home tours, first and foremost.
Okay.
We've had home tours for going on 2 years now, showcasing some of the fantastic deals that can be had in North Minneapolis.
You're a resident of North Minneapolis
I am
yourself?
Indeed.
Okay.
Yes. So we've had the home tours. We've participated in a lot of Northside events that are already ongoing, like Flow, which is our annual Northside Art Crawl.
Okay.
There are the Peace Games. The Peace Foundation does a number of events in North Minneapolis, and of course, NoMi went to Pride and had a booth, and you know, just kind of spreading the word. I'd like to see more events, and I'm going to try to start organizing some that actually occur outside of North Minneapolis, because I want to take the message of NoMi to the rest of the city, because that's where people have the negative stereotypes. People who are already have found their way into North Minneapolis, whether they're just working there or visiting for flow, already, I think, know that there are some good spots.
Are there some particular areas in North Minneapolis that you'd like to share? You know, maybe some real diamonds in the rough, or maybe again, I don't want to speak, you know, pejoratively here at all, but you know, areas that, you know, people just haven't really discovered yet.
Well, I love them all, but I will say that some areas that particularly delight me are the neighborhood of Old Highland, and a lot of people don't know about Old Highland. Old Highland is literally a 3-minute bike ride to the new Target Field. It's just off of Plymouth, as you come from downtown west, and this is a little spot that's kind of nestled off Plymouth that if you just drove down Plymouth you wouldn't know it's there, and it's filled with beautiful old Victorian homes, many of which are very, very well kept. There are a lot of great owner occupants there. That neighborhood is home to our Congressman Keith Ellison, also to the state senator for the region, Linda Higgins. And it's just a magnificent place. There are homes there that are historic landmarks, and so that's one of my favorites. I love downtown. I love the proximity to downtown, and the Victorians are just to die for. And let's see what else. On the west, I live in Willard Hay. That's another great spot. We're really, really close to Theodore Wirth Park. I can walk right up to the Parkway, and I do during good weather almost every day. So that, you know, we get wildlife in our yards coming from the park, beautiful birds, sometimes deer. So that's another great spot. And, you know, it's when I work with buyers, a lot of them want to know about proximity to freeways and things like that, depending on where they work. And so Old Highland is a really great spot, obviously, for people who work downtown. Willard Hay is great for